You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
This is the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where we hang out and talk about everything from hammocks and hammock camping to the group hangs from around the country. Hey everyone, welcome to the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where we unwind, relax, and delve into all things hammock related. Join us as we swing into the world of hammocks, exploring tips and tricks for setting up that perfect hang, sharing stories of outdoor adventures, and discovering the latest trends in hammock camping and relaxation. Whether you're a seasoned hammocker or new to the art of hanging, this podcast is your cozy corner to kick back, escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and soak in the soothing atmosphere of the hammock culture. Prepare to be inspired, educated, and entertained as we embrace the hammock lifestyle together. So grab your favorite hammock, find that perfect spot to hang, and let's embark on a hammock-filled journey that will leave you feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to take on the world. This is the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where every episode is a breath of fresh air. Let's get started.
Howdy Hangers, welcome to this week's episode of the Hammock Hangers Podcast, and I am thrilled to be with you this week talking about a lot of things going on in the hammock world. First thing I do want to start off, so we started a hashtag #ShugStrong. As many of you know, our good friend and community master, the Lord of Lollygag, Shug Emery, has been fighting a kind of a tedious battle with cancer, and luckily treatments are going really well, and he is home and he is recuperating, but he's not able to get out and experience the outdoors and to be out in the piney woods like we are and like he's used to. So we started this hashtag #ShugStrong, is a way to kind of show our support and solidarity to him and his time in recovery. So we're just asking everybody to post pictures of any type of outdoor activities that you may be experiencing with your hammocks, whether they be in the backyard, whether they be on a big long trail, or maybe if they're just at a local campground that you're just out enjoying nature. Just post those pictures with the hashtag #ShugStrong and also tag the American Cancer Society. We're just trying to, kind of not only just show solidarity with Shug, but also kind of give a shout out and awareness for cancer research and see if we can just bring a little bit more attention to that cause. So, and that's hashtag #ShugStrong, and you can post that on Facebook or Instagram. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have entered into full steam-rolling ahead season with hangs. There are a ton of hangs coming up in the hammock community in the next couple of months. I know I am definitely busy out the wazoo with planning a few of ours. The first thing that we've got coming up is the weekend of April 10th through 12th. I personally will be at a bushcraft gathering, bushcraft with Bodier, doing a hammock camping class there. That's always a fun event. I've done that for the past few years. It's kind of a skills and drills with bushcraft and outdoor forest skills. If you're interested in that, you can check that out on Facebook, Bushcraft with Bodier, and that is going to be here in Ocala, Florida. There's also some hangs coming up. The Hoosier Hang is going to be in the same weekend, the 10th through the 12th. And the following weekend, we've got some big ones coming up. So we've got the Maha Spring Hang that's happening April 17th through 19th. We also have the Woolly Swamp Spring Hang happening in North Carolina. And let's see. The following weekend, we have this little hang that we're doing over in Denmark. HangCon Denmark is happening the weekend of April 25th. I know a slew of you guys have talked to me about going over there. I'm super excited about seeing all the new faces. I'm super excited about seeing some of the old friends that we have over there, and also seeing some of the compatriots that we'll have coming over from the States over there, and all the other surrounding countries that we have gathered on campfire, singing music together, drinking coffee, and just having a good time of fellowship together. So really excited about that one. And then we have this hang coming up in New York at the Bristol Hills Hammock Hang. We're going to be talking a lot about that this episode with our guest. That's going to be May 29th through the 31st, a new hang that is hitting our community that I'm really, really excited about. I'm excited to talk to those guys and hear what great things that they have going on so far. And then we have HangCon West coming to the San Bernardino National Forest in California. That's going to be June 18th through the 21st. That is our first kind of foray into expanding HangCon to the West Coast. It'll be bringing a lot of the joys and the excitement that HangCon has over in Florida, just on a little bit smaller scale. We are also limiting tickets to the first 100, 120, depending on how our parking situation looks. So again, tickets for that will be limited. So if you're looking to get tickets to that, I would do that sooner rather than later, because unfortunately when we sell out, and we would love to see as many people there as possible. And you definitely do not want to miss out on that as well. We'll also be selling raffle tickets for that event as well. So hop on to hangcon.com to grab your tickets for that, as well as picking up some raffle tickets to help us support that hang. So without further ado, let me introduce our guests for this week. They are Russ and Jim. They are the kind of the lead organizers and planning for this new hang up in New York, the Bristol Hills Hammock Hang, that is happening May 29th through the 31st. How y'all doing, Russ and Jim?
Excited to be here.
Excellent. So, so I met Jim. It was, I think it was like 11 p.m. or so. It was probably I should have been asleep time at night. Jim messaged me on Facebook, and what started off as just a, hey, I'm kind of interested in starting a hang. Like, I have some questions, and I'm always super excited about talking to people. And about an hour and a half later, we kind of had a plan going for encouraging him to start a hang, and maybe the potential of him coming down to HangCon and kind of experiencing what a hang is for himself, because it was the only one that was happening in the relatively near future for where he was. So this Bristol Hills Hammock Hang is kind of the child of that conversation, really.
Yeah, for sure. I reached out on a whim to just say, like, what should I be aware of if I'm going to think about doing a hang? And you were like, well, why don't you just do the hang? Like, you've got everything you need. Like, you should just do this. And I mean, I'll be honest, like when you first wrote back to me, you were the last hang that I reached out to that I thought would actually reach back to me, because you're so big. Like, I figured like one of the small hangs would reach out to me like really quickly. I wrote to like 3 or 4 different hang organizers, and I was expecting that like those guys would reach back to me quick and you would probably be later, but you were the first one. And like you said, it was like 11 o'clock at night, and we ended up chatting on
life choice.
Facebook. I think we were chatting on Facebook until like 1:30 in the morning. It's like, oh yeah, okay.
It checks out.
Yep.
So Russ and Jim, let's talk about like you as individuals. We'll start with you, Russ. How did you get into hammock camping? Like, what is your hammock origin story?
Well, as far as camping goes, we'll start there, because that's probably how most people started. Very few probably started in a hammock, and I started on the ground like most, and it was as a baby. My father dragged me out when, my first trip, I was a 9-month-old baby in a canoe up into the Adirondacks, and my earliest memory is camping in the Adirondacks. I was probably 4 or 5. That's my earliest memory of my life. And I was in a tent or under a tarp or in a lean-to all the time. And then after college, when I started going backpacking and stuff, I had to kind of get rid of the "you can't go by yourself" attitude, because in the Boy Scouts, it was you always go with somebody else. So I finally was like, all right, well, there's nobody to go with. I'm going to have to go by myself if I want to go. So I did. And so I got back into it. Then at that point, things were online. So I started reaching out to different people, and I was on some forum. I can't remember what it was. This was the early 2000s, maybe late 90s. And people were sharing like those backpacker boxes, just stuff. And so I signed up and I got shipped one, and in it was just a bunch of stuff, but there wasn't a hammock in there. And it was, I still remember, it was made by Buyer of Maine, which is ironic because my great grandfather started the company in Maine in the late 1800s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I took that down to the Finger Lakes National Forest. The tarp I had was the Rainfly from my Eureka Timberline tent, which I put up, and I was like, this is great. That's really what started. I was like, wow, I just cobbled together what I had, and like it worked. And then from there it was okay. Now I'm going to get a real tarp. And the first one I got was a JRB 8x8 square tarp, and you pitched it on the diagonal. And I don't know what happened to that tarp, but because I usually keep all my stuff. And I've moved on to other hammocks like most people do, but I'm still with the first real one that I bought, still with the cobbled together suspension that I had done just as a experiment. And it's lasted 15 years. I expected it just to work for a year, and I switched to something else, but I haven't.
So what is the go-to hammock that has lasted you for so long?
It's actually a Clader hammock.
A Clader hammock. Okay.
Yes, it's one of the cheapest ones out there. It's got a double layer in it. I think at the time when like hammock forums first started, it was me and the guy Neo. I don't even know if he's still on it because I'm not on the forum anymore. But him and I were the only ones that had Clader hammocks.
Man, I vaguely remember the name, but I've never actually heard of anybody that actually had one. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's robust, it's comfortable, it's short. Everyone talks about you have to have a long hammock, and I found that the fabric makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. If it's stretchy fabric, that you probably need it to be longer, but in order to get that good lie in it.
Right. Awesome. So you were kind of like the catalyst that got Jim into hammock camping. So let's talk about how those seeds that you planted that kind of blossomed, Jim becoming the beautiful hammock flower that he is.
Yeah, I mean, I started camping like Russ did with the family, right? We went to a lot of state campgrounds and campgrounds in general. And I grew up in camping primarily on the tent. Russ and I actually met working at a summer camp together back in the mid 90s. And after we had met, I was actually going to school for summer camp management to be a recreation major to be able to run a summer camp. And part of that curriculum actually required you to do a 2-week backpacking trip as part of the curriculum. So I kind of got into backpacking in college through that. And then of course, after graduation and after summer camp ended, like we kind of went our separate ways, and I didn't see Russ for many years. And I got into backpacking and trying to do more stuff on my own. And I did a lot of solo trips and with my family and whatnot. But in 2009, I was diagnosed with cancer and went through a lot of surgery and was told I could never lift my arm over my head and I'd never be able to carry a backpack again. So I was just kind of like out of it. Like I stopped backpacking altogether for about a decade. And in 2019, I decided I was going to try to get back into it because I just missed it. Like it was a part of my life that I wanted back. And I had all of my gear. And at that point, it was all tent gear. But I wanted to get back into it. And around the same time, I'd actually run into Russ at a winter camping event, Mendon Ponds Winterfest here in the Rochester area of New York. And he told me, you know, that he goes out a lot, and by a lot, you know, I asked him, like, what does that mean? He's like, well, I'm out pretty much every other weekend year round. So he's out a ton. And he said, if you ever want to get back into it, let me know. And I was like, well, that's great. I run a summer camp for a living. Like that's what I do. 365 is running a summer camp. So, getting out in summer trips was always really challenging. And a few months later, we discovered that summer camp wasn't going to happen in 2020. And so
some minor event that happened, you know.
I mean, something else happened. I don't remember what it was, but there was something that happened in 2020 that kind of canceled summer camp for the first time in 100 years. But I found myself with time off in the summer, which I'd never experienced. All my life, I've been working in summer camps. And so Russ and I connected and we went on a couple of trips and I brought my tent and he had his hammock and we got to talking about like, what are you staying in? What are you staying in? What are you doing? And I just kind of fell in love with the fact that like one of my biggest fears in tent camping has always been the idea of pitching a tent or tearing down a tent in the rain and having to get all your gear soaking wet and cruddy. And at the same time, I'm getting older, right? Like as we all do, as we're getting older, sleeping on the ground isn't nearly as comfortable. So between not wanting a wet tent and not wanting to sleep on the ground, I was very intrigued by what Russ was carrying. And so he kind of showed me what he had. But, you know, at the same point, like I will give Russ a lot of credit. He never once told me like, you should get a hammock. You should buy this hammock. This is what I use and you should get this because it works for me. It was always like, this is what I do, you know? And so I asked him a lot of questions and I was like, well, do I need a bug net? Do I not need a bug net? What's a tarp? What's the difference between this kind of tarp and that kind of tarp? And I would always reach out with questions and Russ was always happy to share his insight, but was very careful not to say, you should get this brand of hammock or you need that to be able to go out camping. It was always just like, hey, I'm a resource. And if you have questions, I'm happy to chat. And so, you know, he kind of helped guide me through my first hammock purchase. I went on Gear Trade and bought a used hammock setup from Hammock Gear and started building out from there. And I borrowed some equipment for Russ. That first trip that I stayed in a hammock, Russ loaned me a tarp and I cobbled together an underquilt from something I found in the locker at camp. And I was like, this is where I need to be. So I've been building my kit for about 6 years now and I owe a lot of it to Russ. So.
Well, I hope I didn't. I hope I didn't annoy you too much by hedging all of my answers.
Well, I was always afraid I was going to be annoying you too much by asking you another question about what is this thing and whatever. So, yeah.
I think that's the thing that I see a lot. We were just at Florida Trail Fest a few weeks ago, and I did kind of a hammock camping 101 class. And I've kind of been working on this class for about 3 or 4 years now. This is usually the class that I give when I go to either, you know, a bushcraft event or, you know, kind of a camping thing where they ask me to lead a class. This is kind of the go-to class. And again, it's very tricky because like both of you are prime examples of like the entry level to get into hammock camping is actually pretty low. It can be really, really simple, but I think the options out there when you get people that are really excited about what they do, hi, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me, it can be very overwhelming. So I would say for me that's the one thing that I've been working on with this class is like showing, yes, I can get really technical on like, oh, well, you have, 18 different types of suspensions. You got 14 different types of tarps. You've got, 12 different types of hammocks that cuts. And this, but like really, when you get down to it, you need a tarp, you need a hammock, and you need insulation. That's really all you need. and you can be comfortable, and you can really cobble things together and kind of rig things here and there, and you can still be more comfortable than that $500 tent setup that you have. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely. People ask me all the time about what about this hammock or this one? I go, it's a sheet tied between two trees. Really, the difference between all of them is minor. We actually had a conversation. Somebody was asking on one of the Facebook group about the hammock, and I said probably the most important thing is dialing in your suspension. That's the hardest thing. Some hammocks are easier to do than others. If it's a structural ridge line, makes it easier. But in the end, they're all comfortable if you get them dialed in.
Yeah. And I would even say go to as far as saying yes. In my experience, someone that's like 6 foot, like I would say I definitely need an 11-foot hammock. That's kind of like my go-to. But like you said, I have slept in camping hammocks that, like, my Majestic is 10.5. I've had a 10-foot hammock that I made like DIY that I still use. That I want to say that's like 10, maybe just slightly over 10. And when push comes to shove, I would take a short, Eno-esque hammock out camping. It's still going to be more comfortable than a super bougie, tent setup. So,
right.
That level can be very easy into, and I really, compliment you on not like, oh, well, you need to do this, you need to do this, because I think that does overwhelm people. And obviously your tactic kind of work because, we're here talking to Jim today. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, when you go to buy a tent, you buy the tent, and it comes with the poles, and it comes with the stakes, and it comes with the rain fly, and it comes with everything you need to go out and sleep. But when you buy a hammock, you buy the hammock, and then you buy a suspension, and then you have to research the right underquilt, and you have to research the right top quilt. What's the right tarp? And it just feels like this endless search for the right thing. And you can spend a lot of money buying the right thing only to find out it didn't work for you. And now you're going to spend another $300 on a different tarp. I think that analysis paralysis is a real thing when you're hammock camping. There's so many options, but at the same point, that's exactly what allows you to dial in the kit that's going to work best for you. You were talking about the 10-foot Majestic. Russ is sleeping in an 8-foot hammock? I mean, it's a really short hammock.
Yeah, I can't remember what the length is. It is quite short, though.
It's like 8.5.
Something like that.
And I mean, Russ, how tall are you? Like 5'5"?
5'7". Yeah.
5'7".
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I'm 6'3" and I'm in an 11-foot hammock. So like, yeah, you have to dial in the right fit for you.
And, like you were saying, essentially, it's a sheet tie between two trees. And I tell people, like, if you can sew a relatively straight line, you can easily make your own hammock, like a gathered in hammock. Really, really simple. That's one of the most rewarding things that I've gotten out of my hammock journey is, making hammocks, not just for me, but for other people. And just like, hey, it's not that hard. Like, I can make the gear that is going to keep me comfortable out in the woods, and I thoroughly enjoy that process. Now, tarps and insulation, I will happily pay someone else to do that. That does not give me joy in any way, shape, or form. I will pay someone else to deal with down.
You don't want feathers flying all around the house?
No, I did that once, and I'm like, nope, I'm good. I am good. I will happily give Chad from UGQ my money to make me a really nice quilt, or, I'll give, JRB, or I will happily do that. I will give Dutch, I will give Warbonnet, money to deal with sewing sil nylon or sil poly fabric or something like. Nope, I'm good. I can make a hammock. Tarps and insulation, I will happily pay someone else to deal with it.
Outsourcing.
100%. So let's talk about this hang that you guys going on. So tell us a little about the hang and where can people go to sign up, and what can people expect when they come to your hang?
Yeah, so This is the first year that we're doing the hang. And so I reached out to you originally, like, what do I need to know to think about doing a hang? And as I was talking to you, it was like, well, I'm a camp manager. Like, I manage a 123 acre facility. We've got bathrooms, we've got kitchens, we've got cabins, we've got space that people could put up hammocks. We've got open fields. If people want to bring a tent, we can accommodate all these things. We've got equipment, we've got staff, we've got all this. And you just looked at me, you're like, why haven't you done it yet? Like, you have everything you need. And so, one of the things that I've been paying attention to when I look at other hangs is the size of the people, the size of the crew that they have putting them on. And obviously, HangCon, with as big of an event as you have a lot of volunteers that come together. But for our first event, I just wanted to have a couple of people. I kind of had 3-4 people in mind is what I was thinking. And of course, Russ was my first person to be like, hey, what do you think about this crazy idea about us doing a hang here? And I didn't realize it at the time, but Russ has organized a couple of hangs over the years. And so, we just kind of started kicking around the idea. I reached out to a couple of other people, and we started putting the idea together. So, it's been kind of interesting. We're working through the process of trying to figure out, like, what do we want to do? What's going to make our hang different from every other hang? And I think that's something that we're still trying to work out. We have some exciting things going on that, as we've got registration rolling in now, we're asking people what their experience level is. And we're trying to take that feedback into consideration and trying to develop a program that's going to be sufficient and interesting for people from a variety of backgrounds. So I think right now we've got about 20 people registered, and probably a third of them have been hammock camping for a long time and feel really good about their stuff. Another third feel like they've been doing it for a little while and they're feeling fairly confident. And we've got about a third that have never been hammock camping before and just want to learn what it's all about. So, Russ is kind of taking lead on the education component of the event and trying to line up like a schedule of activities. We have 4 guys on the committee, Russ and I, and we also have Scott and Jeff that are going to be jumping in as well. And we're kind of committing that each one of us will run at least one workshop, but we don't want to be running like 4 or 5 apiece, just because we want to also be able to enjoy the weekend. And so our event is going to be May 29 through 31. I know you talked about that already. And I think it's going to be super low key, laid back. Being our first year, we're not planning on having a bunch of vendors. I didn't feel it was appropriate to reach out to a lot of the vendors and be like, hey, I want you to donate your time to come all the way out to New York, because you might talk to 15 or 20 people until we can establish a track record that says, we're going to get enough people to make it worth your while. But that said, Dutchware just reached out to me today and said, hey, if you want a donation, we'll be happy to send something your way. So, Vicky down there has been great at Dutchware. So we may be able to build some connections. Chef Corso is donating some prize material. We're doing an outdoor cook-off challenge. So the winner will go home with some swag from Chef Corso. And so, we're just kind of trying to build it out, trying to figure out what it is that we want to do that's going to be different. All the logistics of like, do we include meals? Do we not include meals? Do we include this? Do we not include that? And so just trying to work through some of those details is kind of where we're at right now. But, I think one of the things that we've been working on is trying to establish the hammock community. There's a New York State hammock Facebook group, but it's been dead for like 3 or 4 years. And so trying to build an online community that is bigger than just this hang. So we have the Finger Lakes Hammock Hub on Facebook. And then within that, we're promoting this event that people can come out to and check it out. So we've been promoting that community more so than just this event. And it's been nice. We've been getting good interest in the group, and people are asking good questions. We just had someone reach out today saying they're making the transition from tent to hammock, and they don't know what they need yet. So who can tell me what would be helpful? And I was like, this is the exact same conversation that I was in 5 years ago with Russ. And so trying to be able to provide that guidance for someone else at this point. So it's been fun trying to build that community.
Yeah, I would say that, and I didn't check the logistics as far as this year goes, because our registration changed a little bit, but I would say probably at least 40 to 60% of the people that come to HangCon either I've only been hammock camping maybe less than a year, or I am completely new to hammock camping, which it props to them for, stepping out, maybe to something that, may be intimidating, maybe something beyond their bubble. But I think that's great. I think that's amazing that they are, stepping into and really hopping into this hammock community kind of head first and trying to learn a lot of those new skills. And I think what you're offering with the classes is great, 100% great. And I kind of like how you are also taking into doing this hang. I remember our conversation, and you were saying, "Hey, I run this camp," and you were telling me all the things that you have. I'm like, dude, you've taken care of the hard part. The hard part is like finding a location, which is, if you're ever like looking to plan a hang, if you've got a location, that's 80% of it in the grand scheme of things. I can't imagine having to find another location for HangCon here in Florida. And, even out in California, we looked at so many different places. And, even the one that we have is not super perfect, long term, as hopefully that event grows. But yeah, I think the setup that you guys have at Bristol Hills is absolutely amazing. And, props to you for kind of like jumping headfirst into it. And, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I'll ask you in June that you actually listened to me and did it.
Yeah, I went down. No. I went and visited Jim down at the property. Was it last week?
Yeah, it was last week.
And you're absolutely right about having the facility there and having all of those resources to make this a go. But I think the other piece there is Jim himself, his day job, and he has the skills, and this is what he does. I don't know if he even realizes that it's like, yeah, he's just doing this because he's answering his own questions before he even asks them. He's just doing it. And I look at it as like, I'm just tagging along, and whatever he needs me to do, I'm going to do. When I did the small hangs that I did, they were just gatherings. It was nothing like what you guys do. It was, hey, who wants to go hammock camping? And we just invited people and said, this is where we're going to be. We didn't have any organization to it at all. It was just people showing up. But what you guys put on is amazing. And Jim is, besides just the facility, Jim with the organizing and those skills, I mean, it will be successful just for those two reasons right there.
Yeah. It's interesting. As the camp manager, we host a lot of rental groups that are putting on this kind of a camp. Like last year we hosted Horizons Unlimited that are bringing people from all over the country, even all over the world, that are coming to camp to do the same sort of thing for an overlanding sort of scenario. And so like we have the food service in place. We have bathrooms and restrooms in place. We have running water where it needs to be. And we've got the experience to be able to put together an event. It's just now I'm taking a bigger role in organizing the actual activities of the event. But like, I'm going to be able to get out and put up signage and draw maps and do all of those things because I've been doing that for other groups for years. So now I just get to take those skills and apply them into the hammock camping world that spread the love a little bit.
And I think also with these type of events, it's kind of like you feel like, especially coming from a program, perspective, also like for me in a teacher perspective, I almost want to have like kind of everything kind of like in its own little corner, and like this kind of moves into this, which kind of moves into this, because you think like, oh, I need this flow. But I'm going to tell you, like some of the best hangs that I go to have a lot of downtime. If I feel like that I'm going to a hang that oh, well, there's this class to go to, oh, then I'm going to transition to that class. Sometimes I just want that kind of H hour. I want like, and this is something that I've kind of tossed around, the idea of like Burley out at HangCon was having like an H hour where everyone in camp has to be horizontal for an hour. You don't have to be asleep. That's what I used to do when I worked with like high schoolers. When we were going on a trip or something, we would have an H hour. You don't have to be asleep, but around 2 o'clock, everybody is horizontal. You can lay down and read. You can lay on the floor. You can lay in a bed. You can lay in a hammock, because I actually introduced hammocks to a lot of my groups too. You just got to be quiet, and you just got to be horizontal. And some of the greatest memories that I have of HangCon before I took it over was I used to take naps, and they were amazing.
Not so much anymore.
I have not gotten that in the last 6 years, but yeah, I think having those classes and stuff, but really, I would encourage you to add a lot of downtime in there as well, because I think you want to foster that community, and that's where that community really, really happens, is in those downtime, in those quiet times. And I think having those facilities that you have at your camp, I think that's really encouraging for people that are traveling from, especially other states, or even eventually maybe around the world. You never know. I never knew that I'd end up in Denmark every year. So, kind of the sky's the limit with that. But having those facilities there, knowing, okay, I can travel to this place, and knowing that, okay, I'm not going to have to dig a hole to go poop in the woods. Like, I will have an actual toilet. Oh, I can take a shower either when I get there or right before I leave, because Lord forbid, I don't want to be on a plane next to somebody that's been out of the woods for 3 days and hasn't taken a shower. Because I've been there. I've been there, done that. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how the event's going to play out, because I think you guys are going to have stupid success.
One of the things that I experienced when I came down to HangCon, that it never occurred to me that it was going to be a thing, but flying down to HangCon, I wasn't able to bring my fuel canisters. So I got there, and I like to have a cup of coffee in the morning, but I was taking an Uber from the airport all the way out to the ranch, and I had no fuel. So I brought my stove, but no fuel. So I had actually reached out to I think I posted on the HangCon website or page, and just said, hey, are there going to be any vendors selling this stuff? And one of them was, kind enough to be like, yeah, stop by my booth, I'll hook you up, which he did. But as I was putting together the registration for this event, one of the things I wanted to make sure we included in there was the opportunity to purchase a fuel canister from whatever fuel source you need. So, if somebody is flying in from out of the area, they can order a white gas canister, they can order a butane canister, they can order whatever, and we'll go out and pick that up for us so they don't have to worry about it. We're trying to be as open and friendly as we can to encourage people to come and visit us.
It was interesting thing when you were talking about the downtime and the H hour, the horizontal hour. What was going through my mind, Jim, was rest period at camp after lunch, and I had I don't know if I ever told you this. I had 2 rules in my cabin with the kids. It was 1, you don't wake me up, and 2, you don't get me in trouble. I figured.
I mean, that kind of checks out.
Right.
But I like that idea of, hey, there's going to be an hour of time where there's not going to be anything going on. And if you want to take a nap, or you want to go, hang out with other people and play cards, or just take a walk around the property, or whatever you want to do, I think that's a good idea. That way people aren't on the go idea.
Right. I taught one semester at a local college, and every day at noon, the entire campus shut down except for food service. There were no classes offered between 12 and 1 every single day, all year long. And they just called it midday siesta. And that was how they ensured that every student and every faculty member had the chance to lay down, relax, get some lunch, whatever they needed to recharge themselves. So yeah, great things.
So, Russ, you said that you've planned some of the hangs, and maybe you've been to other hangs as well. So, if you were to say the hangs that you've been to, what are your top 3 moments or top 3 things that you find that brings you the most joy out of hangs that you go to?
It's really just the other people, just hanging around with the other people for me. And that's for me. I'm happy to show people skills and demonstrate things, but for me, I really just enjoy other people. and hanging out, having food, whatever, but just talking to people and having a good time while we're out there.
Jim, what about you? So, like, you were able to come down to HangCon this year. What are maybe like some of your top 3 moments that you had from HangCon this year?
HangCon for me was interesting because it was the very first hang I've ever been to. It's at this point the only hang I've ever been to. And so I got on a plane I haven't been on a plane since my honeymoon 20 years ago. So, the whole experience and Uber, like all of that was out of my comfort zone. But getting to the hang and being surrounded by 600, 700, however many people there were, was a little overwhelming at first. But what I found really helpful was just the ability, like I was able to find a campsite to set up my gear and have my little safe place, right? Like I could go there and rest and relax until I was ready to go face the world. And then I just found that like wherever I went, people were willing to kind of draw you into their conversation. You sit down and you go to the dining hall or your pavilion to get meals. And it's like, oh gosh, where am I going to sit? I don't know anyone here. But it didn't take long before somebody's like, hey, come on over and sit with us. And so just kind of being welcomed in and accepted into that was really cool. I thought it was really cool that when I first arrived, one of your guys, Matt, just kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, I'm teaching knot tying class, and I heard you know a little bit about rope. How would you feel about helping me teach this?
Under the bus.
Which honestly, I really appreciated because like I benefit from having a purpose. Like I need to be at this place at this time because I have an obligation to do that. And that was really helpful for me to kind of forced the opportunity for me to feel like I had a role and a purpose. I just thought that was really great to be able to like go into that knot tying class each time that it was offered kind of felt like, okay, this is where I belong in this place. And now I know that this is where I'm supposed to be. And so that was just really helpful for me to be able to put down a root there, to be able to say, this is where I belong. So.
Gotcha. I think the one thing for me that, I thoroughly always enjoy that nighttime campfire gathering. Unfortunately, thank you, burn ban. We couldn't have necessarily this year to the level that we would have it in the past. But like whenever we would go, and it didn't even have to be all that like impressive. I remember the very first year that we went to Denmark, the place that we were having the event, we couldn't have fires, a lot like HangCon this year, but we had this that Coleman lantern that we just put on a milk crate in the middle of a forest road. So occasionally we had to be like car and move our whole little mini campfire. But we had about like 12 to 15, 20 people, sitting around this campfire, this lantern in the middle of the road. And we were just talking about life, Lord knows where everybody was from, like what kind of place people are coming from. But at that moment, that quiet time, we could sit down and we could be one community like that. Yeah. That's, I don't know, that's what part just fills my soul. It recharges my battery. And
I'm with you on that.
And we talked about this quite a bit on the podcast too, but I think for some reason, and I can't really explain it, hammock camping does kind of maybe cater a lot to maybe the introvert. At least a lot of my friends that I've talked to, like for some reason in the hammock community, the introvert brightens and blossoms into this temporary extrovert. Where, I tell people I'm a very outgoing introvert. At the end of HangCon, I definitely go, I love you all, but right now I need you out of my life. But, there's just something about it that just kind of refuels my batteries. And so I would encourage you to, when you were planning, or anybody that's listening to this that may be considering planning a hang, think about the 1 or 2 things that you really find joy with in a hang and focus on that. Because not only will you enjoy the hang much more instead of having to plan like upteen bajillion classes and making sure the speakers are coming on, and which I like going to the speakers and stuff like that. And unfortunately the teacher part of me never can shut off. So 3 months before HangCon, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll run this class and I'll run this class. I really like teaching. And then when he gets to hang con, every year I'm like, oh God, I wish I wasn't doing that class. I wish someone would take that.
Yep.
But I would say put investment in those quiet times, for the campfires at night. And I know, Paul is probably tired of hearing me say this, but you talked about having that meal that like, oh, I don't know where people are, I don't have anywhere to sit. For me, that one meal, especially that Friday or Saturday night, especially that Saturday night for HangCon, having everyone come together for that one particular meal, and really coming together as a family, it is really the cement for me. Like that's the hill that I'll die on, and I fully understand that strategically and resource wise, it's a lot.
Yep.
It's a lot. Anybody that has put on a hang where they have provided at least one meal, they'll tell you logistically it's a pain in the rear end. But gosh, for me, like the benefit of that is that's where you really get our community bonding together, just breaking bread together. It's just so cool to see that happen.
Yeah,
there's something primal about that for humans. Sitting around and breaking bread. Yeah. We talk a lot about that community building, and what we're trying to do right now in the early stages is we're trying to build that community online with the hope that when we actually get to being together at camp, it won't be like, oh, hey, who are you? But rather you can have that like, oh, hey, it's AJ. We talked about this online, like be able to actually put faces and be able to have somebody that you can relate to. I think we have a problem with division in this country where people, like find sides of everything to argue about. And I feel like when we are at a hang, we might disagree on a lot of things, but we all can share this one moment that we all believe in, and the value of being outdoors and under a hammock, or in a hammock, maybe not under the hammock, but
that's a different type of hang.
Yeah. So, I'm excited about that. I think, we've decided for our hang that we're going to provide dinner as part of it, and then have an option when people register, they can also sign up to do a breakfast or a lunch. But we also felt like we needed to have at least one meal that everybody would be together. And, I'm not an inexperienced person in the kitchen. As the camp manager, I've worked entire summers where I was like putting meals together in the kitchen. So, we feed 200 people every day for every meal at camp. So feeding 50 or 75 or however many people we end up getting at this event. I'm not too stressed about the logistics of feeding people. I think we've got that covered pretty well. So, I'm just looking forward to being able to get people together and put faces to names and actually get to commune and hang out and have fun with people.
So I know your event hasn't happened yet, but you've been doing this process now for probably the last year. You've kind of been thinking about like how can I make this idea come to a reality. So far, what's been your favorite part and least favorite part of the process so far?
I would say my favorite part of the process has been trying to develop the online community that will support this event. I didn't want there to be like this Finger Lakes Hammock Hub over here and an event over there. I really want the event to be the culmination of this community that we've been building. And so trying to, populate information, trying to provide prompts in the Hammock Hub that encourages people to ask questions about learning about hammocks and all of that. And then, oh, by the way, if you're having a great time here in this group, know that we also are running this event that you should come to. So that kind of building of the community has been probably my most exciting part. I always get really excited when I see somebody new has joined the Hammock Hub, especially when it's not somebody that I directly tagged and said, hey, you should join. But like when somebody that I don't know has recommended it to their friends, that's always, we're small, we're brand new. And so like, we don't have hundreds of thousands of people coming in, but like every time that I see somebody's joined the page, it's like, oh, how did they find out about us? And trying to build those connections. And I get giddy when I see new registration roll in for the Hammock Hang. I think we've still got a couple of months before our event's going to happen. So, I have big hopes and big dreams for this event. My crew has been awesome, and I'm just excited to be able to get people connected in person. So, as far as the least exciting, least thing that I don't like as much, I really haven't run into that yet. I think probably my biggest frustration is having to work around having a real job that isn't 100% doing this. So,
stupid bills and adulting things.
I know, it's interesting. I consider myself very fortunate because what I do for a living is what I love to do. Like, I don't know many people that go to college to do this one thing and they spend the rest of their life doing it and they still love it. And I do. I still love my job. But there are days that my job is much more administrative and paperwork and HR and budgets and all these things that aren't as much fun. At the end of the day, I get to go hang out at summer camp with little kids and teach them how to shoot an arrow out of bow or climb a tree on a ropes course. Like, those are the things that make the days of budgeting and HR and all those other things that aren't fun worthwhile. So, when I say I have real life things that I have to do that prevent me from being able to focus more on the hammock hang, it's not really that big of a complaint. Like, it's just the reality of, like, there are times that I wish I could be doing more to get people excited about going to the hang. So yeah, there's really nothing about this process that I haven't enjoyed so far.
Gotcha. Has there been anything that maybe like unexpected that you never thought would come up, or just something that wasn't in your horoscope that has actually come to fruition?
I feel like the question is asking for that, like, oh crap, I forgot about X, Y, and Z. I think so far for me, the biggest surprise has been, like, part of my process in all of this has been going out and joining a lot of the other hangs in the country. Not necessarily that I'm going to go to them all, but I like to jump into their Facebook pages and see what they're doing and learn from them. And one of the surprises has been organizers from other hangs that have reached out to me that we've been able to have conversations. There was just a hangout in Montana, and talking to that guy about, like, what he learned from his experience and what worked really well and what he wished he had done differently, being able to pick his brain. I've talked to the folks from Michiligan. I talked to the guys at Maha, and just trying to, like, learn what they're doing. And that sense of, like, I'm not all alone in doing this. Like, yeah, I've got my crew here, but there's also people all over that are doing this sort of thing that we can learn from. And so that's been a bit of a surprise that I wasn't expecting. It's been wonderful, but it was not on my radar to start with.
Yeah, I think that's one really great thing about the hammock community, where we can do events, maybe even sometimes at the same time, and it never really feels like, oh, well, this is like a competition. Like, I've got to beat Jim from New York because, I got to make sure I've got more people at my hang. So I'm going to do it's really like, hey, and that's one of the things that I tell people, like when you message me, we've put a lot of work into, like, doing HangCon and how we do things at HangCon. Some things will not work for you. Just because of the different things, but some things will, and there's no use in you and me recreating the wheel every single time to offer a very similar, wonderful experience to people that just happen to be in a different location.
And yeah, I mean, it's hard to consider somebody to be competition when they're on the other side of the country. We're not drawing from the same pool of people. And so, like, we could run very similar events as what maybe Montana is doing, what HangCon California is doing, what HangCon South is doing. We could run similar things and not really be negatively impacting other groups.
Yeah, I think overall the community is like, hey, how can I be supportive of you as much as I can? Like, hey, watch out for this. I want to see you succeed, and I don't want I want our community to grow. And if you're going to be a catalyst for that, then hey, you got my support 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that.
So, you've got your event coming up. I think you've done an amazing job of, like, getting the word out. I think that's the biggest thing. It kind of chuckles with me because, again, sometimes when we put, the hours and hours, especially into the social media and, getting that information out, and people, it never fails. The Wednesday after HangCon, we will get 8 or 9 people's like, oh, I never knew this was a thing. And like, how I've been blasting this on Facebook for months. Like, how do you not know? But again, it's a big world. And getting that information out. And I think you guys have done a really good job of getting that word out. I know it's definitely come across, my feed numerous times. And yeah, I'm really excited about you guys.
You made the mistake of accepting my friend request, and so now you're saying
no good deed goes unpunished.
Oh, right. I reached out to you after HangCon. I was like, I know I got into that crew late last year, but I'd like to be involved a bit earlier this year. Like, how soon do you start? And you're like, last week we started planning for next year.
Yeah, pretty much.
I know that feeling.
Yeah,
I know that feeling.
And we say like, oh, well, that's only one event per year, but like HangCon is a different event all in itself. But even, the stuff that we put into Denmark, or the stuff that we're putting into California, or even the little thing, it really is a year-long affair, because you're always kind of like, all right, well, how can we make this better? Or how can we tweak this so there's less work on this particular group or something like that? So yeah, 100%. And I appreciate the work that you guys are putting in, because it's not an easy affair. I encourage people to, just go and do it. And I think, you may feel that like, oh, I've got like 20 people registered, but you got 20 people registered and you still got like 2 months before the event. So I think you're sitting good. I really do think you're sitting fine. And a part of me is just like, gosh, I hope you like land 150 people your first year. That would be wicked sweet. I know that might be terrifying, but just like,
I would welcome that.
I mean, that's awesome. And like, there's not a lot of hangs, I guess, in that vicinity. I mean, you've got Machiligan over here, you've got kind of Neha over here, and you've got Maha here. And so that part of New York is kind of like a little, I don't know of any hangs that have happened there before. And it's a beautiful, beautiful area that people really do need to see, like New York. Like, that's one of my favorite parts of New York, is that whole Finger Lakes region. It's just stunning.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot for sure. And I mean, for a lot of your listeners, you may be familiar with the Adirondacks and all the camping that's available up there. And I know Russ does tons and tons and tons up in the Adirondacks. We've got the Finger Lakes. It's wine country. So if you like wineries, we're not going to lock people in. If you come into camp and you want to hang out with us for the hammock, but then you want to go check out a winery tour half an hour down the road, you want to go check out a brewery tour, we've got breweries popping up in the area. There's a lot to see. And like you said, like, you don't have to be at camp doing all of the things that we're doing the whole time. So yeah, there's a lot to see around for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you guys actually have actually after that happening. Now, I probably won't talk to you before like we get back from California, but I'm crazy excited to follow your journey. And if anybody that's listening that has any inkling that they should maybe try out this new hang, this guy Jim knows what he's doing, guys, and I really think he's going to throw together a really amazing hang, and I thoroughly encourage anyone and everyone go check out this hang, especially we got somebody new that's starting to build and add an event to our community. Let's throw and give him support. So where can people go and register for the event?
Sure. Yeah. So the camp that we are at is actually a 4-H camp, which is owned and operated by Cornell. So to actually register, it's a big, long Cornell URL link that's about 300 characters long. But the easy way to do it is one of two ways. Jump into the Finger Lakes Hammock Hang group, the Finger Lakes Hammock Hub group on Facebook. The event is in there. That'll give you a link that you can register directly. One of the things I've been warning people that checking the box that says I'm interested or I'm going on Facebook doesn't actually get you registered. There is a link that you have to actually follow through to actually get registered. The other alternative that you could do is simply search out the 4-H camp itself, 4hcampbristolhills.org. there's a tab there for the Bristol Hills Hammock Hang that you can get registered there as well. They take you to the same place, so it's the same deal no matter how you get there. Our event right now, we are charging a fee of $25 for the weekend. It's a 3-day weekend, and I'm well aware that many of the hangs that I see advertised are all free hangs, and so I'm a little concerned about the price tag. And I think in the future, I'd like to be able to offer this as a free hang, but at least in this first year, we don't have vendors, we don't have sponsors, we don't have all of those things. And so, we're trying to cover the cost of the camp, as minimally as possible. But we still have to be able to bring in a few bucks to justify, as the camp manager, one of the things that I have to weigh out is if I were to get another group that wanted to come to camp that weekend, I have to be bringing in enough money to justify turning away another group that could be bringing me more. So my crew and I are all basically volunteering for the event. And all the work that I'm doing in prep is all volunteer. We're basically trying to cover the cost of meals and some program supplies. So we're trying to be as reasonable as possible. But if you've got vendors that are listening that want to send us all sorts of things for raffles that we can cover our costs that way and not have to charge a fee in the future, come talk to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of, and this is a conversation that I've had with other hangs. I think the work that you guys put into the event, it kind of justifies some sort of cost, some sort of buy-in. It is a lot of work. And I think as the community goes, our community does value that work. And so I think $25 for a weekend and you're going to provide food and stuff is still a steal in the grand scheme of things. If anybody has looked at camping rates now, even in state parks or something, after you pay the reservation fee and the internet convenience fee and all that stuff, it ends up being $35 a night, and that's just for the cheap sites.
Right.
So $25 for the weekend, that's a drop in the bucket, especially when for all that you guys are offering. And just to be a part of that community, $25, I would happily pay that, if not more. So thank you.
I mean, yeah, for sure. We're going to be, like I said, we're including dinner for each night that you're there. We do have the full running flush toilets, and hot showers, and we've got all sorts of amenities. We're still trying to iron out exactly what classes we're going to offer, but we've got equipment that we can do geocaching workshops. We can open our ropes course. We can open up the archery range. We've got lots of things that we can offer. It's going to depend on who's coming and what they are interested in. So, Russ and I have talked about what that schedule of events will look like. And while I'm also in the frame of mind, let's get it scheduled. Let's have it down. Russ is dial it back. Not everybody wants to be doing 100 different things. And so
listen to Russ. Listen to Russ.
Yeah. I've listened to him a long ways. So
we'll schedule in a 1-hour rest period.
There you go.
That's the first one on the agenda. That's right.
Yeah.
H-hour.
Yep.
I like that.
100%. 100%. Yep. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys coming on and jabbering with me for a little bit. And I'm excited to hear about your hang. We'll definitely put that link in our show notes as well for just a little bit easy access for people to
that'd be great.
find and join the Finger Lakes Hammock Hub on Facebook. A lot of good conversation happening over there, and that'll be our episode for this week. So thank you guys for coming on. If you've liked what
Thanks for having us.
If you've liked what you heard this week, hop on and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your hammock podcast episode, and join us on Facebook and Instagram as well, and check out our HangCon Facebook and Instagram as well. Just a reminder, we have HangCon Denmark coming up as well as HangCon California, and the HangCon California tickets are limited, so you definitely want to hop on and get those as soon as possible. And finally, don't forget about the hashtag ShugStrong hashtag that we're doing to kind of booster being outside, as well as some awareness for the American Cancer Society as well. And until next time, happy hanging, everybody.
As we gently sway out of another Hammock Field episode, we want to thank you, our wonderful listeners, for hanging out with us on the Hammock Hangers podcast. We hope that you have found relaxation, inspiration, and a renewed sense of connection to nature through our discussions. Remember to keep that hammock spirit alive in your daily life, whether it's by taking a few moments to unwind in your own backyard oasis or by planning your next hammock adventure in the great outdoors. Embracing the tranquility, embracing the simplicity, and never forget the joy that comes from simply hanging around. Before we part ways, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with all things hammock related. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for the Hammock Hangers Podcast. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to hang with you again on our next episode. Until then, stay relaxed, stay adventurous, and keep on hanging those hammocks high. From all of us here at the Hammock Hangers Podcast, we wish you peaceful hangs and endless relaxation. Thank you for tuning in. Happy hanging, everyone.